I made a video a couple of weeks ago titled The Acolyte, Why the Hate? I made that video because I had watched the first 2 episodes and people were already outraged. I was kind of on the opposite side of that fence because I actually thought the first 2 episodes were some of the greatest Star Wars show action we've gotten until that point. Now, I made that video as sort of a let's not spread negativity just to spread negativity, and let's instead just have a conversation about the show. And I still feel that way. I still feel like we need to talk about it in an orderly fashion. But that being said, I have myself begun to kind of understand where they're coming from. Not in the way that they are expressing themselves. I'm not like on that far side of the spectrum, but as soon as I started episode 3, which I was very excited to watch actually, we got this flashback episode, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But when that was over, I was left very underwhelmed and didn't really know what to feel. I think I was putting a positive spin on it all, just to kind of deny that it wasn't as good as I expected, but it wasn't as good as I expected. Hey, every show has those 1 or 2 episodes that are kind of off and not like the other ones. So I thought maybe that was the case. So I returned the next week for episode 4, which in my opinion was just as bad, maybe even worse than episode 3. And let me phrase it like this. In episode 3, I was distracted by some of the acting, especially by the child actors, and I don't want to bash actors because, you know, there has been enough bullying of Star Wars actors, especially child actors. So of course that's fine. It's only 1 episode. It was a flashback episode and that's that. But then episode 4 came out and again, just I felt very underwhelmed by the acting and the overall like direction also. Some of the decisions made in that episode were just like baffling. And I will go into spoiler territory here, just a disclaimer. So you have been warned, so you can stop the video now if you don't want to watch this spoiler section. But from now on, I will talk spoilers. May just kind of flipped the switch in I feel like what was in the span of 10 minutes in this show, but it felt like 10 seconds.
You know, after running through that forest for an extremely long time, I realized something. I don't need to do this anymore. I don't need to kill a Jedi without a weapon. I don't need to keep this deal.
What?
In one scene, you have her kind of saying that this is what she needs to do, and she's very like determined. Then we watch another scene, and then after that scene, she's kind of like, you know what, screw this, I don't want to do this, I'll turn myself into the Jedi. And when you're watching this, you're just like, what just happened? Where did that come from? There wasn't any setup, there wasn't any like doubt in her mind. You need to have an emotional setup for that kind of decision, and there was none. It felt very flat for me. And I just feel like that could have been handled a lot better. It wasn't handled in an emotional, dramatic way. It was just kind of a throwaway line, which is even weirder. We've seen her murder Jedi twice, and now all of a sudden she thinks that the Jedi are just gonna let that go and like turn her in and she'll be fine. No, that doesn't work like that. After episode 4, I was kind of more frustrated than ever, and my expectations were low. And maybe that's why when I watched episode 5, that I actually was kind of surprised at how good it was. But then when I think back on episode 5, it is mostly action. There's no talking, really. And when there is talking, it's kind of also just undermines the dramatic tone.
What are you?
I have no name, but a Jedi like you might call me Sith.
I don't know what they were trying to do with the dialogue in this show, and one of my keynotes from the first 2 episodes were that the writing was top-notch, and yeah, I don't know what happened. I really feel like the first 2 episodes were strong and did it very well. But now I feel like every time at least Osha and May open their mouths in this show, it's kind of just like, I wouldn't say it's like uncomfortable to watch, but I don't have a better word for that, so I'm gonna use that word. It is a bit uncomfortable, and you do kind of cringe a bit sometimes, and I know people like to throw that word around like it's nothing, but when you do actually cringe, like physically cringe when you watch something or hear something being said, a character reacts to something, it's just, yeah, I don't know if it's the writing or the acting or just the overall thing compiled into one, but there's just something off That being said, I do want to say some positives as well, because I actually do like a lot of elements of the series. I think the concept is very strong, and Acolyte, the High Republic era, I know it's not the start of the Sith, but it's kind of the re-emergence of the Sith in the shadows, where the Jedi are not like, and it isn't really in the knowledge of the Jedi. So the concept is strong, and you can have a very strong story there as well, and a good plot. And I want to say that whoever did the choreography and the action sequences and has also done a great job, because that's my favorite part of the show. In episode 5, the fight scene between Jackie and Kimir is just, I think that's some of the best fight scenes we've had in a long time. The last time I was so engaged in the fight scene, I think The Last Jedi, where Rey and Kylo teamed up. And that's like 7 years ago, which is kind of wild. So props to them. Props to the stunt team, to the action team, to the choreographer. Everyone involved with that, and just the performances as well in the fight scenes are great. I don't know if they were stunt guys or the actual actors, but whoever it was did amazing. And I do want to say that I think the show looks good. Some complained that episode 5 was very dark and you almost couldn't see anything, but I don't know, I didn't have that problem. I thought I could see it just fine. So I don't know if my screen is just lighter than everyone else's, but I could watch it just fine. And there's just a lot of interesting concepts, you know, with Kimir having that special mask and wristband that can kind of power off the lightsabers. That's a great idea, and it's actually very cool in the practical sense as well. It makes sense to have that as a lightsaber wielder. So that's also cool. I also want to say that Saul's character, I still very much enjoy when he's on screen. But with Saul, it's kind of this problem where I feel like the show is just keeping information from the viewer, just to keep the information from the viewer. It's not motivated at all. Like, yes, he says that, I will tell you later, I will tell you on the ship, I will tell you when we're done. I think he said that at least 3 times in the last 2 episodes where it doesn't happen. And we know he has this kind of dark side to him that he doesn't show, and the past with the flashback episode isn't really the whole story, and Saul is involved in some kind of way, but we don't know how. It's alright to let that cook for a while and not let us in the loop. But I don't think you can like keep mentioning it and just not do anything about it. I hope we'll find out in episode 6, or at least like a small part of it, like chunks of the story throughout the rest of the episodes. So maybe there can be like a big reveal at the end. I think maybe that would be the best case scenario, if we got kind of small hints as to what happened, but in the last episode it all clicks into place. Perhaps that could help the story a bit. Let me just say that I don't see this show being rescued from the last 3 episodes. Like, I don't see how the last 3 episodes could save this show from being anything other than mediocre, which is a shame to say, because I think this is one of those shows which could have been something truly special, where it's not just a copy and paste story where you're just having these characters in the story to earn money, which of course is a point of it, but you look at shows like Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi, where that could have been good stories. They are great characters, both of them. Well, at least Obi-Wan is. We don't know much of Boba Fett. I don't really get the obsession with him, but oh well. There were potential, at least. But they kind of didn't deliver on that part. But this was exciting because it was an all-original story, all-original characters. It just feels like a missed opportunity, which is kind of, it's kind of heartbreaking actually. But I am looking forward to seeing how it wraps up. With only 3 episodes left, I would be kind of amazed if they wrapped it up nicely. But let's see, I will watch it. I am a loyal Star Wars fan, so of course I will watch it. But I do have some thoughts, and I thought I would just share them with you. So I don't think it's as bad as people say still. But you should praise a show where it needs to be praised, but you also need to critique the show where it needs to be critiqued. And this was my kind of critique of the first 5 episodes. And I don't know if you feel the same way or if you feel different, but I just want to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you would indulge me, just write whatever you think of the first 5 episodes and maybe what you think will happen in the last 3. And I don't know, give it a rating from 1 to 10 in the comments of what you think so far. And don't just write 1 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, because that's the boring answers. There's always some good to be found and some bad to be found. Alright, so thanks for watching. This was my video about the Acolyte. Bye.